Managing multiple interests is extremely easy. You only need to answer one question that will take you 30 seconds, that will give you all of the focus that you deserve in pursuing your dreams. The question is the following. What is something that you could give a presentation on right now without preparation if I would throw you in front of 100 people? The answer to this question is your interest. The idea that you have multiple interests, that all of these people have multiple interests that they could be pursuing. They all have 16 different interests that they could be pursuing and could be superstars in, is a fucking joke. They don't have that. Most people have one interest. They think they have 7 interests. They think that all of the things that they are a loser in, that they could not give a presentation on, that they have no results in whatsoever, that all of those things are multiple interests they could be pursuing, but this is a joke. Life is really hard. Most people do not achieve anything if they pursue one thing. And so this idea that you have multiple interests for most people that are watching is laziness in disguise. It's an excuse. And laziness knows that the quickest way for you to not do anything, to not give yourself a chance, is to pretend that you have to choose between 16 different interests that you could be pursuing. So this question allows you to erase all of that and focus on the one thing that you could actually win in. That's the thing that you should be pursuing. Now let's assume that you are indeed a superstar, super genius, which you are. You are a superstar. And you have 20 interests. You actually have 20 interests that you could become a superstar in. And so you say, well, Dries, if I erase 19 and I pursue this one thing, then I'm gonna miss out on 19 multiple interests. Well, missing out on 19 is much better than missing out on all 20. Why are you deciding? Why are you trying to postpone? You're missing out on all 20 as we speak. Perhaps it's better to just choose one. If the answer to the question earlier, what is something that you could give a presentation on without preparation if I would throw you in front of 100 people is, well, I would give a presentation on dog personalities. Well, dog personalities, make a channel around dog personalities and then sell dog paintings on the back end of the channel. If your answer was spirituality, well, make some Alex Gray style paintings and then, or make some spirituality videos and then make Alex Gray style paintings or whatever spiritual paintings and sell them on the back end of the video. If your answer was philosophy, then make philosophy videos and sell them on the back of the, you get the idea. The idea that you have to choose a niche or that you have to manage multiple interests is a joke because you already chose one. Nobody goes through life without having interests and pursuing those interests. And the interests that you've already pursued at this moment, that you've become an expert at because you've been pursuing them for 2 decades, those interests are the only ones that you should be pursuing. You don't need any other interests. You don't need to manage things. Just pursue the things that you know you're good at. And if you've been pursuing something for a month, guess what? Disregard it. A month doesn't mean anything. Everybody has those things where they spend a little month on something. Who cares? Get over it. Disregard it. Throw it in the bin. But then there are some super smart people that righteously so ask themselves, well, what if I pick the wrong niche? What if my niche is not a 6-figure niche? What if I can't make money in this particular niche, Dries? Isn't that important? Well, let me tell you the story of Rodin, one of the best sculptors who ever lived. A story that will help you massively. So Rodin, before anything happens, he wants to become a sculptor. He knows he has talent. He has this desire to become somewhat famous, somewhat important. He has this talent. He knows it. And so he applies to the schools because this is the way to do it at that time. He applies to, I think it's like Les Écoles des Beaux-Arts in Paris. And he applies and he gets rejected. And he applies and then he gets rejected again. And then he applies a 3rd time. Imagine him with his little briefcase full of drawings, and he goes to the panel of judges that will allow him or reject him, and he shows his drawings and they tell him, Rodin, your art is just not traditional enough. We don't like it. Go away. And so he gets rejected a third time. But Rodin doesn't give up. He desperately wants this so bad. So what does he do? He goes and works for a particular company that does some like buildings. They make buildings, some architecture stuff. And what does he do there? He makes sculptures for architecture. So like things connected to buildings, you know. And so for many years, he's still busy in the field. He's still sculpting. He's not a fine art sculptor. He's not an amazing artist. He's a little bit depressed. He doesn't necessarily like his job too much. He desperately wants to become a fine artist. He desperately wants to write history in the history books. But during this time, he is practicing. During this time, he is developing his skill. During this time, he is becoming better. During this time, he's gaining confidence in his art. And at a sudden moment, he makes this super realistic sculpture. And with this sculpture, he participates in an award, a competition in Paris. And so he goes against to the city that rejected him the first time. I think it's in Paris. I actually don't know, but let's assume it's in Paris, okay? And he participates with this amazing sculpture. And what do they say? They say, Rodin, we don't believe that you made this. We believe that you used a body inside of the sculpture because it's too realistic. We don't believe this shit. Get the fuck out. And so initially it's not traditional enough. Now it's way too realistic. What the hell is going on? Anyway, Rodin eventually becomes one of the great sculptors. So let's talk about the six-figure niche. Let me tell you a little secret. Every niche in the world is a six-figure niche. Every niche in the world is a six-figure niche. You don't have to decide. An 11-figure niche is hard to find. An 11-figure niche would be requiring some kind of research, and I would not be able to help you with that. But a six-figure niche, that's easy because all niches are six-figure niches. Cheese sculpting classes for people who want to have cheese sculpting in their dinner parties is a six-figure niche. Duck herding is a six-figure niche. Creative rock balancing is a six-figure niche. Everything is a six-figure niche. And here's the truth. If you are a sculptor, what did Rodin do? He wanted to become fine art, but he went into this architecture thing, didn't necessarily like it too much. That is what you should be doing. As a sculptor, a lot of sculptors would be very happy making $112,000 a year doing cheese sculpting classes. A lot of them would be happy. And if for some reason you're not happy doing that, you can always still chase that fine art career afterwards. And it's going to be much easier to chase that art career when you make $140K a year than when you are working with McDonald's. That's just the way it is. And so this idea, all of these doubts about six-figure niches and multiple interests and what if I should pursue this or this or this, all of that doesn't matter. 95% of people that are watching are literally 3 years away from making $140,000 a year with cheese sculpting. But you make this idea of fine art up in your mind, which is going to take longer, which is also possible, but it's going to take longer. You make that up in your minds and you use it to not do anything. And as a result, you're now 52 years old and you've been postponing on this art thing for the last 2 to 3 decades. And now you're sitting here with your 7 interests. Check out the artist formula. It's a formula that can get any art niche to 6 figures. Any art niche. If you are making 30K a year, then not buying this is literally at least costing you $70,000 every single year in opportunity cost that you're just losing. That said, there is another video that goes more in depth into managing multiple interests. Link in the description and in the end screen. That said, get the hell out of here.